Testing. Oh, I guess it would just be us so you could hear.
It may be, yeah.
Oh, there's Kay. So I see Kay.
We tried.
Hey, Kay.
Hey, Kathy, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great.
Oh, good.
The one thing is, I think the audio is through my laptop because I'm not sure how to get it on this big screen that we have.
Go down to your setting down.
So it has speakers, Realtek, and then my like headphones that I use. So it looks like it's not picking up on the. We've got this giant TV screen, which is great for the visual.
Yeah.
What do you remember what the third option on?
It was, let's see, I've got it right here. What is it?
Let me see. And you're playing it now?
What was the option? That's weird. I haven't made my calendar. Is it because I'm in Zoom? Okay,
Back down to
this one. So there's switch to phone audio, leave computer audio.
So
You'd
if
have to
you
Leave
try
the computer audio.
Okay,
again.
this one. Can you say something, Kay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay, so it's still coming out of the computer.
Is the TV you're linking up to, is it like, is it a flat screen? Kathy, does that make a difference in your sound as I'm speaking to you? Your audio is still coming out of the computer?
Yeah, it is, which isn't though, I mean, at least we have visual.
Mhm.
That's so weird. Let's see.
The
I'm just
only
kind of-
other thing I can think of is, can we live caption it so that the caption shows?
That's a great idea.
Look, thanks to Summer Free for All and you, Kathy, I'm serious. Like that's what got us to that decision.
Well,
And it always wasn't that when
Yeah, is
playing.
that something that Jasmine would have to do in the settings, or how do we do that?
So whoever is the, I guess, the Zoom host, they should see somewhere on the profile. Actually, let me see if I can see it. They should see on their end that they're able to start live captioning.
Okay.
And I'm
I
trying to
have found some people really prefer that, and I think it was, who was it? Was it Jessica mentioned there were some folks who had maybe
yeah,
hearing
the thing hard. Yeah.
audio challenge. Let's see. I would assume too that if you're sharing the screen, we can just see that visually because I'm seeing you on the right.
You're seeing me.
Yeah, like I'm seeing
Oh,
the,
here we go.
Oh.
You are in HDMI 2.
Okay.
yes, I must be, yeah, the middle one. Can you say something?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
It's
Still, it's September 27th, 2022.
Yeah, it's still doing it off the laptop. HDMI. This is like amazing hacking skills here.
Isn't it? I'm trying to think.
No, yeah, it's still from the sound out, TV digital sound out. Device setting?
I was gonna say, is there, I'm trying to figure out what it looks like on TV.
I know, I wonder if I can share my screen to show you what we're seeing. Oh, I can't do it. It's talking about a Bluetooth setting though, so I'm like, is my Bluetooth?
You say you may need to turn your Bluetooth off.
Okay. So my Bluetooth was on,
Mhm.
and now I'm gonna, should I try to turn it on?
I was gonna say, try to turn it on, because
Okay.
if that TV can connect with the HDMI.
Ooh, is this generic PNP monitor? I wonder if it's trying to pair from my,
It's trying to pair something in that room. I'm guessing like sometimes the TV sort of come in with their own Wi-Fi built in, but I'm not sure.
Hmm. Let's see, it's kind of, I think it's trying to connect. Oh, look. Kathy didn't request screen sharing, yes.
Might just have been in the screen.
Your default speaker has changed to digital output. I'll just hit done. Okay, how does this sound? Can you say?
Okay, today is September 27th.
Yeah, we can't hear.
You can't hear anything?
It's weird.
Oh, you know what? You might have to change the Zoom setting.
Oh, okay. Go to, oh shoot, it was this one.
And then the
Is it
audio settings again.
this one? Okay, digital output probably. Okay, how's this sounding? Can you hear me?
I can
Okay,
hear you. Yeah, you sound absolutely, you sound fine. Absolutely fine. Can you hear me?
digital output. That's bizarre because I think it paired,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just. Yeah, I can't hear anything now. Digital output. Yeah, it's trying to test some speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try this.
Okay.
Bluetooth. First sound. We shouldn't have, I feel like we shouldn't have to.
Do all this? I know, I'm like, am I messing up the settings in either of our
No.
systems?
No, I don't think you are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
We can hear you.
you can hear me on the television.
I can hear you on the television now.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, it just needed to reset.
Are
And-
you testing? I'm testing on my mic if it's still using the.
So now we just need to get the picture up there.
Are you
I
playing
wonder
the
if you make that
presentation?
your own screen.
Let's
So
see.
is it a maximized screen or is it minimized?
Let's see. Full screen. Oh, bizarre. So now the audio seems to be coming through, but
The television?
the television is like blue screen.
Yeah,
It's.
What do I do?
let's see.
That's
Is this a-
bizarre.
Is this test recording now?
I don't know if it's recording. Oh, it is. We'll pause it.
Yeah, so then, perfect. Can everyone hear me? Unmute you. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. This is Shar.
Great, okay, wonderful, thank you.
Yes, I can hear you. This is David.
Okay. Wonderful, okay, so, oh, thanks for the snacks. That's cool, because I haven't eaten all day. I had a long day at work and then I rushed over here.
We have a sign-in page and the minutes from the last couple meetings are there, I think, to peruse.
Thanks, Mary. Okay, so present, we have board members. Joanna Morel, I'm the vice chair. I'm going to be facilitating this meeting because the chair, Jessica Ward, is out of town. And I think she might be appearing virtually, so we will see her soon. Joanna, I put my video on in case the visitors see. Is that okay? Yeah, I mean, so I'm gonna turn around. Can you all see us? Except for me, no one can see me. Probably. I should probably move, right?
Oh, she's gonna.
Okay, so that's me. Hello. I think I'm gonna move. So people can see us and my back isn't to everybody.
You can sit my brother.
Oh, it's open. Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Ken. I haven't eaten all day, so that's very wonderful.
You haven't ate all day?
Well, I had a busy day.
Oh, geez.
Okay, so now my back is to you all, so I'm just gonna do my best. So bear with me. I'll be sitting like this. Okay, so we're gonna get started. Everyone can hear me and see me. Okay, so first thing on the agenda is we do need to approve the meeting minutes from the past meetings. Also, I'm going to go over some ground rules really quick. I would just encourage us all to not interrupt each other, so do our best to let each other finish our sentences. Act in good faith, and by that I mean just make the assumption that the other person is doing their best as well, and be respectful of everybody in the room and also the people online. In addition to that, please raise your hand, or if you have a comment or something you would like to add, please let us know by raising your hand if you're online or in this room as well. And I will do my best to get to all of you and hear everybody's comments. I think it's important that we all listen to each other. So I'd like that same room and like that same respect in this room as well of each other. Okay? Okay. All right. So we'll get started. I am going to try to keep our board member updates to 5 minutes if possible. So I'll talk about that in a second, but before that, we do need to improve the minutes. And so I have them up. The general meeting minutes need to be approved from our meeting on 8/30, 2022. Did everybody, has everyone seen that? Oh, yeah, that sounds good. I am gonna talk about that also because I also have an alternative thing that I want to add to the agenda. So if you want to do that first,
So mine is an alternative non-additional.
okay?
So I propose a community-led discussion on 3 topics. Number 1, eliminate election regarding which seats are supposed to be voted on, the yearly election for bylaws. Number 2, malfeasance, select board members refusing to honor the role of board members in an Oregon nonprofit as guided by the bylaws. And number 3, what community could do better to support those stepping up to the board? The barriers are historically present. Excuse me, what barriers that are historically present block that participation from the community?
Okay, so I hear you and understand that, and I also want, also do need to stick to our agenda that I have right here, but I do
Well,
want
so
to,
it's a motion, so if it's not seconded, then we go away, but if it does get seconded, then we discuss and we vote.
yeah, I hear you, and that's fine, and let me just finish my sentence though, because I was talking. Okay, thanks. So I do think that it's important to hear all community members here, but I wanted to add that, if possible, to the discussion item towards the end of the meeting.
So I'm presenting an alternative agenda, and that's what I'd like to continue to present. And as I understand it, the methods for presenting an alternative agenda is you read it, there's a second and a vote, then that's the agenda you follow.
Hi, we also have guest speakers here right now.
Right? It's
So-
not a variable in proposing an alternative agenda.
Okay. So how does the rest of the board feel? about-
Not a board decision.
Yeah, I'll second it,
Thank you. So the alternative agenda has now been seconded.
and now it's discussion. And a second doesn't mean that I agree with it, I'm just saying that it's meritorious of discussion.
Okay, we do have people coming to talk to us at 6:30 PM, but we could do that.
I'm having audio issues.
Okay.
Is it better if I have this laptop unmuted?
It's still echoing. We can do our best.
I think it's my.
Okay. I will do my best to speak loud. Can you all hear me now?
I can.
Great. So I'd encourage everyone else to speak loud as well for those that are online. By loud, I mean not screaming. I mean just clearly and projecting voice. Does that sound good? Okay, so it looks like the agenda has been seconded, and so now we have an alternative agenda. I do want to get to our speakers that are speaking at 6:30 PM, and I have also an alternative thing I would like to add to the agenda, which is I'd like to make a motion to add the chair for the bylaws committee vote to this agenda.
So there's a motion on the table for
Yes.
discussion, right?
Yep.
So then when we dispose of that, we would normally move on to the next item.
Yes.
So at this point, I thought we were discussing whether this was gonna
I
happen.
was just trying to add everything to the agenda at once.
So discussing your motion,
Right.
might we be able to amend your motion to also include the guest speaker who's here?
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable amendment.
Okay. Can I also amend your motion to talk about the bylaws committee?
Time permitting, I think
we had an emergency meeting on
Yes,
the 15th, and what we had decided, it was motioned and approved that recruitment would start on September 21st on Facebook and website, which has not happened.
it actually has been posted
Well,
to,
when?
it's there.
Well,
Jasmine posted it. She said on the 18th.
I didn't see it anywhere.
She
Maybe it's
says
not
it's
open.
posted on Facebook and to the website that we are recruiting for that. And I'd like to make a motion to add somebody as the chair. So, but
But I thought our motion was that we would keep it open until the board meeting on October 13th, so that we would give opportunities for other people to apply. That's what I heard the motions were. We don't have any minutes from that meeting. There should be a recording, but I remember
I
clearly
understand that there is a recording and we just looked at the recording.
And
So
what
we
was-
can table that until the 13th. I'm completely fine with that. But I do have an idea for that process, so I was just trying to add that to this agenda as well.
But I just wanted to bring to people's attention that the person who's making this change was one of the 3 no votes on what the community had voted on. That you were one of the 3 who did not want, who wanted bylaws revision to actually take place at this meeting. That's what I remember the votes were.
Well, the revision's not gonna take place at this meeting.
I know, but originally, when we had our emergency meeting, the proposal had been that the bylaws revisions would be posted, the suggestions, with 7 days' notice, and that then the community today would be voting on these bylaws revisions. And then what happened at the meeting was it was decided that we would postpone any bylaws revision until bylaws committee was created. It was supposed to be posted on the, first it was the 17th, then it was moved to the 21st. I have not seen it anywhere, but again, we're not friends of, the London Neighborhood Association Facebook, so we may not be seeing all the posts, but I know it was not posted that you were recruiting for bylaws revision committee. If it was posted today. I don't remember anybody. Did you see any? Yeah.
I was told it was posted on the 18th.
Yeah, but it may be on the private side.
It couldn't have been posted on the 18th because Jasmine had us amend on the motion to have it on the 21st. And then we looked for it on the 21st of September, and I didn't see it then.
That was our conversation briefly just before this meeting, so I could have the date wrong, but she did tell me that she posted it. It was on there.
Because you have to give opportunity to the whole community.
Yes.
To go and submit their names and everything else.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
There's been
agree
no
with that.
outreach. Yeah, but I'm just bringing up that this amendment is coming up like almost 2 weeks after an emergency meeting where the community said, we want a bylaws revision committee and we want people to be recruited and we will go and approve the member, whoever is appointed.
Right, and it's my
Yeah.
understanding that we need to have somebody chair that committee from the board. So that's what.
No, you don't have to.
That's
No,
right.
all you need is a board I know this, because I've been.
Board liaison.
It's
Yeah.
board liaison.
Exactly.
No, a board liaison is not the same thing. You can have a board member be the committee chair, or you can have an LNA member be the chair
I
with the board
understand
liaison.
that. I'm sorry, I minced my words. I was just assuming that somebody from the board would share or be the liaison, either one, for the committee, and that was what I wanted to do. Just one person from the board be the representative for the committee. So that's what I was trying to get on the table.
Okay,
That's all.
fine.
That's all. And so that's what I was trying to talk about. So I was wanting to add that to the agenda as well. Okay, so sounds like we have a change in our agenda. So you want to talk about, the first thing you wanted to talk about was the elections.
So I'll read this again for them to make it easier.
Yeah.
I'm proposing a community-led discussion of 3 topics. Number 1, the LMA election regarding which seats are supposed to be voted on in the yearly election for the bylaws.
Yes.
2, malfeasance, select board members refusing to honor the role of board member in an organ nonprofit as guided by the bylaws. Number 3, what community could do to better support those stepping up to the board, and what barriers are historically present that block that participation. There's been two amendments, one to include the guest speakers, and two to have bylaws committee discussion.
Sounds good. Our guest speakers are speaking at 7:30, so if we could stop our discussion and talk about, we'll have them speak and then resume it, that would be awesome.
Well, just, this isn't a foregone conclusion that this is successful. It could be that we follow the other, there's a vote to have. So I respect what you're saying, and just offering that clarity that it's not a done deal until we all vote.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just
Yeah,
adding.
we're on the same page.
Okay. Cool. All right, so let's call the question.
So all in favor? Four in favor? Can't tell what happens online. Do they get to vote as well for this? Or?
They can, yeah, they can raise their little.
Yeah, they can raise their hands or chat.
It's reactions, they can,
They want to vote
they can
for
go to the reactions.
change of agenda, they can raise their hands.
Do people on the Zoom meeting want to vote on this?
Can you please repeat what we're voting on?
Agenda change.
So we're voting on an agenda change. The number one is the election of board members, which is the agenda change is to talk about the election of board members according to the bylaws. And then number two, the agenda change is board member malfeasance and in an Oregon nonprofit. And so that's the discussion around that. And number three, what can the community do better to support board members? That is the third thing that Schultz would like to add to the agenda. That was seconded and now we're voting on. In addition to that, there have been two amendments to the agenda. One amendment was chair for bylaws committee, and the other one, remind me what the other one was.
Allow the guest speakers.
Yeah, allow the guest speakers at 7:30. Sorry, I thought that was a given. Yeah. So guest speakers are speaking at 7:30. And so we need to take a break in the middle of whatever we're talking about for that. So if that all sounds like a great agenda to you, then please vote yes or no.
How do you know if they vote yes or no?
They can put it in the chat.
Oh, there you go. Vote in the chat.
David Foxy says yes.
So everybody's voting on the agenda change.
You want to get rid of the box there? It's the X. Is the mouse not working? Maybe use the tabs.
Just close it.
I
Okay, so.
People up in the chat, they have a look at votes.
Yeah.
Does anyone abstain from the vote or no? Vote no.
So in the room, if you don't agree with the agenda,
If you don't agree with the agenda change, let me recapitulate the agenda changes that have been proposed and voted and seconded. And now we've voted on, the board has voted on them. And so now the rest of you all, I would like to hear from all of you online about this agenda change. So the first thing is the election of board members in accordance with the bylaws. And so we're gonna talk about that. Number 2 is board member malfeasance in an Oregon nonprofit. We're gonna have a discussion about that. Number 3 is how can the community support board members better? That's number 3. We're gonna discuss that. And also we are going to hopefully talk about creating a chair or a liaison from the board for the bylaws committee, as well as we're going to have some guest speakers from the Bureau of Environmental Science, and they are going to be speaking at 7:30 p.m. So would you like to vote on this agenda change? And if you don't vote, you can say no, or if you want to abstain, please abstain, but please let us know in the chat.
not to belabor the point, but in the room, I don't think you asked if there were no votes in the room.
I think everyone voted.
No, I mean, 6 in favor at this point. So there's 15 of us present.
I'll circle back in a second.
And then some people who are on Zoom may not be LNA members. So they can't vote in.
I'm voting no.
Okay, 1 no, 2 yeses. And in this room, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We counting yeses?
Yeah, 5 yeses. 2 abstentions. And I'm also abstaining.
So by that math, if I'm reading it right, the motion to change the agenda passes.
Yeah, it does. So the motion to change the agenda has passed, and we are moving forward with the new proposed agenda. So number 1 on the agenda is the elections. I'd like to open that up for discussion and to the community as well as board members. So who would like to start off with that?
So as mentioned in the last general meeting, the elections for the bylaws would happen in September. There was a motion to delay it, I guess.
Yes, there was a motion to delay it, yes.
And I guess the questions I have are several. It's supposed to be even and odd seats, and the only thing listed in the materials that I've seen has been the secretary and some at-large seats. So I don't understand why we're deviating from bylaws to.
We talked about that at our last meeting, and I'd like to open that up to, we had solidified it and talked about that at our last board meeting. So apparently, I don't know if Ken or Joanne, you want to comment on that, but you both had a lot to say about that.
I didn't have a lot to say. I was just quoting historical memories. I hope people can hear me because I'm saying that I had a hard time hearing.
Yeah.
Mary will also corroborate because Mary was on the elections committee with me. And I did bring up on the elections committee about this odd and even number. And I did bring up that, gee, we're missing an odd numbered year to be voting in an even numbered year. And what are we going to do? Mary and I were only elections nominations committee people. We were not board members, so we did not have any strong say or vote in the matter. But it was strongly implied that anybody who's running, because the elections were postponed first till March and then till May, they would just run over those 4 months or so, because it didn't make sense to have people come in to then vote again. Speaking for myself only, if I had heard that we were going to have to rerun people in September after elections in June, I probably would have said, we waited till June, we can wait till September, just do it right then. So I think a lot of people ran based on the fact that they would be running for 2.5 years as a post on LNA website by John Johnson. At the time, there were indeed 3 interim board members on board for the DOJ. And he had said that the people elected at May, well, that time was March 2022, would serve till September 2024. And the people who were elected in March, which became May 2020, who were supposed to be odd number of years, would just serve for 1 year and a little more. But my suggestion would be, just as me, is that if there are problems with that, just have the people who were running and were elected for even number of years, put their name on the ballot again. And do that for now. But I'm also warning people that, hey, you're gonna get into the same BS, I guess, because we're electing in November. So what are we gonna do in September? Are we gonna start enabling again about, oh, these people are, 3 months short of when they should be? So that's just something that we need to think about if we want to redo elections. But that's why that happened the way it did. It wasn't anything firm because, like Robert said, the LNA bylaws do indeed say September annual elections were
Yes.
also somewhat illegal. So I will confirm Robert's stance also, because any postponement would have had to be done by general membership, not by the board. Now, we did the best we could, but technically, if there were to be any postponement, it should have happened at the August general meeting, not at the September board meeting. So basically tonight, we're telling everybody, oh, by the way, we're not having elections, which is not too cool. It looks incompetent, but it's been a history of LNA of doing that. So, it's nothing really surprising, but I hope that sort of answers. your
We did
question.
talk about that though, at our last board meeting, and we brought it up when we had a conversation about it. So I thought the issue was mostly resolved, but I understand we are still having elections and we're gonna have them in November. And, but it's gonna be for at-large seat and for secretary unless there is other comments right now.
So under the bylaws, this year we would have even numbered on, who on the, I don't see why we don't just do the bylaws, like whoever's up.
We
for
can do
election
that,
this year.
And then
but we all just got elected, but we can do it again. I'm open to it. Okay.
And then that would not apply to the odd number of people, which would be the not public safety, land use is an odd number here, so land use would stay until, I guess, does that sound right, Robert? And
think
yeah,
the vice
and then,
chair
yeah,
chairs
and then,
those.
and yeah, it's vice chair, treasurer, secretary, transportation that are up for even number of years, plus 3 optional, at large. And again, I
Sounds
just want to repeat that according to our bylaws, at large are optional, but since the secretary vacancy is there, I do agree with Robert that, yeah, that we might as well try to fill those at large board seats. Back in March/May, when we held elections, we barely were able to get the 7 people we needed. So it seemed ludicrous to try to get an extra 3 when we
Yeah.
didn't have the 7 that we needed. But now that we seem to have more community engagement, I would say, yeah, and since we have to fill that secretary's position, then I would say, yeah, open it up to those 3 optional at large.
So now we're changing what we decided at our last meeting, which is fine. So we're all, do you
No,
want to
actually,
make
that
a
would be up to a
motion?
motion.
Yeah,
No,
that's what I was
yeah.
saying. Do you want to make a motion to do that? You have to let me finish talking. Thank you.
Can I ask a question about that?
Mm-hmm.
So from everything I've seen and looked at, like I didn't see any minutes capturing a motion to set this stuff off and say, okay, we're gonna do this other way. So, my preference, that
Yeah.
what I'd advocate for is to follow the bylaws. And I say that because of all the history involved with the neighborhood association, and I respect that. Now I gotta put my name on this again, but given the comments from the board late, there's nobody racing for these seats anyway, so it's really just a matter of procedure and following the procedure outlined in the bylaws. So that's what I'm in favor for. So when we talk about the need to do a motion now, I was curious if there was ever a motion done before. It didn't sound like it was a discussion.
It was a discussion, yeah, and I brought it up at the last meeting and I was told that the interim board really had decided and voted and they took precedence over what happened in the bylaws, like what they had decided as far as voting and elections took precedence over what is happening in the bylaws. So that was what we had all talked about, and I believe you were present, and at the last board meeting. Yeah.
So that gets to a tricky thing because there were only 2 people on that interim board, and by Oregon nonprofit law, you can't run an organization that way. So,
Yeah.
so to presume that they have authority to make lasting changes to the organization is kind of a false assumption.
I think it was just the election. I'm sorry to interrupt you, though. Continue. I don't want to interrupt.
They didn't have authority to make any kind of lasting, and this has happened, there was at the last meeting, and there was some correspondence with one of those folks, and the idea that the opinion of the
Yeah.
interim board member has some weight is false. It's Oregon law and the bylaws. Bylaws usually being the first step. And so that's why I reiterate that regardless of the understandings and conversations, my advocacy is follow the bylaws. If that means we need to do it next month,
Yeah.
I mean, have to help, have to run, et cetera, et cetera. I
Mhm.
put my name in via email and was given a relatively short response that we don't know, but your name is here. And I would hope that if we're trying to recruit as an organization, that we have a little bit more attention when responding to any applicants, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm saying.
Thank you.
And I appreciate all this conversation on this topic. That's
Mhm.
why I was hoping we would get this. It'd be great if there were other voices that weighed in too.
Yeah, well, we're gonna still open this up for discussion, but I understand how you feel. And any other comments? And you have suggested, and we would need to make a motion, I think, to just continue to follow the bylaws, so we can talk about that. But any other comments? David Potts is saying he can't understand you, Schultz. Do you want to come over here? I mean, here's a suggestion that I have for hearing people. When you are making a comment, when a community member is making a comment, if they could just please come up and sit closer to the computer that way. Does that make sense? Okay.
Happy to.
Okay.
David, can you hear me?
Okay.
So as what was offered originally, just to catch up, was an alternative agenda where we discussed 3 items. This is the first item, and that item is the elections. And the current conversation is, why aren't we following the bylaws? The basic way to say it. And the response has been, the previous interim board offered a bunch of commentary, and that the current board was following some of that. And I think there's been a recognition that that group did not, that those individuals didn't have authority to make lasting changes to the organization. So does that bring you up to speed pretty fairly? Thank you.
Okay. Oh, yeah, of course. One moment, let me check that meeting room. I do not want to leave the meeting. I'm admitting this person. Okay. I think that person is in. Let me know if they're not. Okay. Uh-huh. Okay. So to continue our talk, any other comments about elections?
Just one concern that it's elections, if they're November 22nd, is 2 days before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that was my concern as well. Or I mentioned that at our last meeting. And it is on a Tuesday, so the thought was, you know, it is on Thanksgiving week, so we might want to change the date. Any comments? Any other comments? So it sounds like somebody wants.
We do have comment, because I know
Yeah.
you're at. So if you feel a motion should be prepared on this, I'll happily offer a motion just for the sake of making things easy.
Sounds good.
So I motion that the LNA effectively follow the bylaws with respect to the need to do the election next month, but offering the seats as described in the bylaws up for election. Does that seem reasonable? So then if somebody wants to second it, if they don't, it's okay.
Do we have discussion? So
Seconded.
Sounds like Bradley's just seconding that motion for us to follow the bylaws as in regarding elections. So we are going to call the question.
Can I ask you a clarifying question? I'm assuming that's just for even number of years, though, not the whole board, right?
Correct, per the bylaws,
Per
yes.
bylaws, okay.
Per the bylaws, so so my seat would be up and a few other seats are up per the bylaws, even number of years,
Are you chair or vice chair?
and vice chair.
Vice chair is on.
I don't think so. Nope.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Then it's the chair. One of the two is on.
Chair is on.
Chair is on.
Ah, fair.
Chair, land use,
Thank you.
and I think,
So you're wanting to.
Call the question?
Yes, there you go. Well, I vote yes.
Okay.
I abstain.
I feel like I'm really into facilitating this meeting and getting people's comments. And so voting right now is, I don't have a lot of time to process things and I am all for following the bylaws because that seems to be our Bible and how we move forward and getting things done. So I'm in favor of just doing it, just getting it done.
It's fine. Online people, do you want to vote?
Thanks, Mary.
David says,
So David, is that a yes then?
Yes, that is a yes.
Thank you, David.
that's 6.
So we have 1, 2,
Char,
3, 4,
that's 7.
5 here.
Char is 7. I abstain.
7 in favor. Which I believe
Yes.
carries the motion.
And the gentleman?
With abstain.
Okay, looks like there's a few more, we're waiting on a few more votes or abstentions or no's from the online community.
Jessica and Char. Char votes yes. So that's 7 yeses.
That carries it.
Yes, we're not hearing from Jessica or Tracy. She's with you? Okay. And Rosalind? Okay, you guys are on, okay. Yes, that's it.
Okay. We haven't heard from Jessica.
How long do we wait to see if she's still? Jessica, are you voting?
Okay, we'll circle back later. Okay, all right, so sounds like that has been passed. Moving forward, we are going to have an election in November. I would like to make a motion to change the date to a different day other than Thanksgiving week, because I just think that's not. So I'd like to change the date to November 29th. That is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving weekend. So I'd like to make a motion to change the date, the election date, to November 29th.
I'll second it.
So discussion.
Call the question? Or do you want to discuss?
Does the bylaw specifically state a date or does it just say in November?
Well, we had already.
It says September.
Yeah, we had extended it. We had previously extended it per a meeting, following the bylaws, because we had an emergency meeting about this, and we had extended it at that meeting. So we're still following the bylaws, but we had decided to change a date. So we had decided at the emergency meeting that we were gonna do November 22nd. And so, now, because there's been some realization that that is on Thanksgiving week, I'm making a motion to change that to November 29th. So
Understandable.
all from present, be present. Okay, so.
Sorry.
Yeah, call the question. Changing the vote, changing the elections from November 22nd, which is Thanksgiving week, to November 29th, which is after Thanksgiving week. Only one person has voted.
Okay, so
Oh,
has there been
David?
your voting?
yeah,
You're
you all
voting
need to
again?
vote. You're abstaining?
I'm sorry.
Are you voting yes or no to the date?
Well, you're doing yes, so I'm gonna vote against it.
Okay. Okay,
And I'm just plenty, so you should.
Yes, ma'am, Joe.
thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. Okay. Okay, no's. 1. Abstentions?
Jim, one behind you.
2 abstentions behind you.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a reason for this?
I mean, my reason for dissenting is we just covered this in the last general meeting, so it's not, and I mean, my vote wouldn't really matter, so I would be consistent. But that's, where did you get 8 for yes? I counted 7 for yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You,
8.
Did you count me twice there?
No, there's 2 yeses online.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I don't count myself.
Then it's
I made the
6.
motion.
Then it's 6, 4. It still carries. I just making notes. I just want to make sure I'm accurate. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, moving forward to board member malfeasance. Sounds like there's some people that want to talk about that, so open that up for discussion. Okay.
Happily go on several of these. So bylaws and the duties for board members, et cetera, are fairly clearly outlined, as well as official responsibilities relative to Oregon nonprofit law. And at several meetings and meetings I've either seen recorded or what have you, are often board members saying, well, I'm not going to do that. And it's certainly something I've discussed with other community members that are like, how do you do that? How do you say, yes, I'll run for this seat. Now I'm on this board seat and I have a fiduciary obligation to do it reasonably, et cetera. And then say, I'm not going to do stuff. And then, I mean, that's something certainly notable to several people that I've spoken to.
Yeah.
So for me, that's, a good place to start.
Okay. So any other comments? Oh, David would like you to speak into the microphone if possible.
Oh my goodness. Can you hear me, David? I don't know if I say things as well the second time, but I'll give it a shot. There's been community concerns about board members that are effectively not doing the job they signed up to do, and confusion with the idea that when you say, hey, I'm going to run for this seat, that you have some level of working knowledge of what that entails as far as how to support an organization or the rules of the organization or nonprofit law, et cetera. And the question is like relative to fiduciary responsibility when you take those positions, and that the feeling that there's board members that have seats that are just like, well, I'm not going to do that, and things of that nature that are negative impact to the organization, certainly, and just generally to the community, because then why do you want to get involved if you have board officers saying they're just going to decide to drop the ball on things randomly? Does that make sense? Must be looking for the mute button, aren't you?
Yeah, yes, that makes sense. I guess I would just further say that I think we were probably lucky to get a board. It sounded like initially there was a lot of effort put into getting people to even serve on the board. But if you sign up for the job, you ought to be willing to do it. I agree with you on your view on that. The election may actually take care of that, though.
I don't know if anybody else wants to.
Any other comments? I'm opening it up for discussion. We can talk about this.
I guess there's a concern from some community members that not everything being sent to Lentz neighborhood Gmail is actually being shared board-wide. And I don't know if that's true or not right now. I guess originally, I guess it was just the secretary and the chair with access to Lentz neighborhood Gmail.
Yeah.
And now I guess it's just the chairperson. But that's a concern because I know I've sent 5 emails, the same exact email, just re-forwarded 5 times about bylaws revision committee. And I CC'd it to two board members here too, just because I had their email addresses to show that I kept sending it, and I got no response whatsoever. And now I'm hearing at an emergency meeting that nobody cared about bylaws revision, nobody volunteered, and I know for a fact that since June 5th, I've been offering to jumpstart a bylaws.
Oh, I know you have, and so that is posted, and I believe that we're recruiting for that, and so.
But why wasn't it taken care of in June 5th when I asked? Why didn't people accept my offer?
I think, initially, I was not the decision maker, because it was all of us. But I think initially, from me, my perspective is that I was trying to understand what the bylaws and what the issues were, because I don't know the history. I'm new. And so
But I
for
guess my
me,
question is, why wasn't the rest of the board shared? Did anybody else see those emails that I sent 5 times?
I did not see those emails.
Yeah, so that's a problem because I sent it to Lentz neighborhood, and after the 3rd email, then I sent it to 2 unidentified board members whose emails I had, just to show, hey, I am contacting the board, and nobody is responding to me. So that's all I'm saying.
Thank you. And then sounds like 2 people's hands are raised. So Mary.
Makes a very good point, and my main tonight is I would like to make a motion that all board members have access to the Lentz Gmail account.
I second that.
Okay, call the question, unless we want to discuss more. Looks like Char's seconding Mary's motion as well.
So you want to take a vote?
Yeah, I said call to question.
I vote yes.
Yes.
So you're abstaining or voting yes? Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Any no votes?
Any no votes? Any abstentions? Two abstentions, okay? Two abstentions.
Were there any no votes?
No, I don't believe so.
Were there any yes votes online?
David,
I believe your total is 7.
I can't see where Char voted. Char votes yes.
I'm abstaining.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 yeses and 3 abstentions. Okay.
And I'm fine with giving, I guess my concern is I want there to be some sort of order to everybody having access to the email. That's my only concern. For example, and so one person, each board member can take over the email maybe on a weekly basis. I'd like to have some sort of order, some way for people to respond, so we're not all responding to the same email, or we're not all saying different things. So I would like, that's why I'm abstaining, because I'm not sure how that will look. Yes.
If this was just, I think it was just allowed to view it. You know, if there's a response that has to come, an official response that has to come from the board, then it has to be discussed, with, within the board if there's going to be an official decision or something like that.
Yeah. So that's what you're thinking. That's what you're thinking.
I voted yes because I want to see what's going on, because I don't know what's going on. I keep on having people say, well, why isn't this being answered? Why isn't that being answered? I don't know. I don't have access, so I can't tell you. And I just want to see what's showing up in Lentz neighborhood Gmail. And if I respond to it, I don't want to respond to it because we'd have to discuss something among the board members to give an official response to something, I would think.
Yeah. I agree that I want to see what's happening via email, and I want to get those communications. I just want some sort of way for us all to be united in responding to them. Yes.
According to bylaws, it's the chairperson who answers those, or the secretary of delegate.
I understand, which is why they had access.
Right,
And
yeah,
no one
but-
else.
Yeah,
did.
but the concern is that it seems like stuff was not being shared with the rest of the board.
Valid
So,
concern.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where the issue comes.
Although I do think the emails are forwarded to us.
We should still have access to it.
Okay. Yeah.
In the history of the LNA, something like confirmation of receipt was done by the secretary. More engaged exchanges, often the chair or in lieu of the chair, the vice chair, but typically the 3 point of like communication. As far as access, in the past, it was always, if you're a board member, you want access, tell us when you access. It's never like intended to be a state secret. This also goes with the Facebook page and the other. I think there was at one point a Twitter account and there was something else as well. I know there's also like the YouTube, right? And YouTube gets.
I believe there's a YouTube.
We have 5 minutes until we start the presentation with our guest speakers, but I'd like to hear from Ken.
That being brought up about the Facebook page, I would like to make a motion that all LNA board members be granted editor status on the LNA Facebook to enable them to automatically post. So if I have an announcement or want to put the treasurer's report on there, I could do that. If there's a transportation thing that comes up or a land use issue that comes up, it would be nice if those could be posted without having to wait.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So if there's like an event in the community or something that you see happening, it would be nice if we could post that on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if this is the right time for this, but I question why we're using a Facebook page and not a Facebook group. Because the Facebook group is more anyone can kind of share, and like a page can be as good as a supplemental, as in we can just post meeting updates there.
Yeah,
But
good idea. I think,
it's a thought.
I mean, it is a thought. So, any comments around that?
It's just how it was set up to start. There's been no intelligent manipulation of it, so you're absolutely right. I think it's purely a matter of who's gonna take that on.
Mm-hmm.
To make a change like that. In the past, the Facebook has been like a symbol of power, if you will, of the board by muting people on discussions and things like that. So it's very one way, very, we're gonna control the narrative. The same token, like the community would jump on there and be aggressive until those things were turned off. So it's just this like word salad fighting pit on topics. So I don't think anybody's really wanted to like take ownership of the project of the page. But I think in the current iteration, it's been pretty civil, pretty decent. You're gonna have people that are upset and they deserve to have a chance to be upset somewhere. And the response really marks everything. In the past, it would be folks go, they don't like what I'm doing because they're wrong, they're horrible, and they're attacking me because I'm XYZ and I drive a car or walk on the street. And then it was like very much like
You should be able to post your opinion, and as long as it's civil and not profane, it should be allowed to be posted.
So perhaps we should consider, we saw the motion, but consider making a Facebook group with rules regarding civility and all that, but let pretty much anyone post.
And then the last piece is, because it's LNA and it's a nonprofit that has open meetings, there's a concern about a privatized group versus another.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah, so it seems like we need to table this. I'd like to table this until after our guest speakers.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I just like to just, make sure that I'm just saying this is.
We do have a motion. We will table that.
No, you need to vote. You have to get to the motion.
What is the motion again?
The motion was that all LNA board members be granted editor status on the LNA Facebook page to enable them to automatically post.
I think we can just do the motion again after the presentation.
Well, you're not an authority, not in charge, but if you're following the basic like standards, Ken could retract the motion for later, or you take a vote. Those are the two options I have.
I'll second.
Robert already seconded.
Yeah, it's been seconded. That's the
Yeah, it's
point.
been
Starting
seconded, but then he came up with the idea of a group, and then we started talking about that.
So
So-
there's still a discussion going.
Yeah, I definitely think
Okay,
there's,
so let's table it until we complete the discussion.
I got you.
thank you.
I thought you called for a vote. and that's-
I did, and then he jumped in and
Fair
started
enough.
talking, so I wanted to give everyone a chance to talk, and then we will revisit this after the guest speakers. Does that sound good? We still have a half hour after that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
You all need to stand or take a stretch break or grab a snack and snack yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do want. And Joanna, I'm gonna unmute mine. So if you want to mute yours.
To break your teeth, and they're also grapefruit and lemon.
Yeah, I think mute both of them because there's an echo. And I can facilitate questions, or maybe we use this mic. I know that when we tested it earlier, it was better for hybrid. What I think I need to do is turn it on. Can you all hear me okay online? Okay. Yay. So I know you're someone new that just joined us. Welcome. Hi. I'm gonna move this over here because we are recording you. Okay. Oh.
If you would, please, thank you so much.
So my name is Kathy Dang. I am with the City of Portland with the Bureau of Environmental Services. And we are here tonight with our team to share about 2 exciting projects in the neighborhood. And I'm going to pass this to my colleague, but I have some fact sheets to take away that we just printed today. We're going to share about the West Lens floodplain project, as well as the Springwater Wetlands floodplain restoration project. You're going to hear from our project managers and design team, and have a chance hopefully for some questions and follow up. So I'm going to introduce Jennifer Devlin here with BES, Environmental Services Community Engagement.
Great, thank you. How does the volume sound coming from from your end there in the room?
Sounds good.
Okay, it'd be great if our project team could all turn on their cameras and their mics, and we'll see if we can all say hello. And then Roz, I think you're going to be doing a screen share for our presentation. I just want to thank you all for being neighborhood activists and all the hard work that you do, and for inviting us to come tonight. We have a big team because we have a couple of projects here and a lot going on. So I'm just going to go around ours. You've met Kathy, you've met myself. Let's see, let's go ahead down to Kay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kay Bullock-Clayton. I am on the community outreach team here with BES. I'm happy to see everyone attend.
Great. And Aaron, you're next for me on my screen.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you. And I'm also with community outreach. Aaron Abrams.
Great. And Tressie?
Hi, everyone. My name's Tressie. I am a project manager with BES.
And Roz.
Hello, I'm Rosalind Gray. I'm one of the restoration design engineers with BES.
So Roz, if you want to start sharing, are you ready to do that? We can jump right into this. So we have a presentation for you tonight. And I think Kathy handed out the fact sheet, so you have something to take back with you. We also have information on our project website. There we go. So this presentation is going to be about 2 different projects that are happening in your neighborhood. One of them we call the West Lens Restoration Project, and one is the Springwater Wetland Restoration Project. There's our names there. Yep, thank you for moving into the next slide. Just kind of pulls us together into who we all are. And Kay has been your main point of contact. And then Tressie and Rosalind are our project managers on the 2 projects. Next slide. So for context, I think that most of you who have been in the Lens neighborhood for quite a while know that Johnson Creek flows through the Lens neighborhood from Gresham, and then it enters the Willamette down in Milwaukee. So it's kind of a multi-jurisdictional creek with a lot of history of being channelized and having lots of ag and industry and lots of residential. And over the last 25 years, Environmental Services, which we call BES, has been working with multiple partners, including the community, Lens neighborhood, as well as Johnson Creek Watershed Council, on about 25 different projects that we're showing you here. So the green fish are projects that we have completed in water work for fish habitat or flood control. And the pink ones are the ones that we currently are working on. So we have quite a few projects that we're working on in the Johnson Creek. And the ones that we want to direct your attention to are the West Lens and the Springwater Wetland. So West, thank you. And Springwater there. So our projects are usually multi faceted. I think I could go on to the next slide now to do, oh, there we go, yeah. Thank you. We try to solve multiple problems at once by relieving local flooding. We like to improve access to nature, and we like to enhance habitat, both for fish that are in the stream, as well as riparian and wetland species. Species that you see here, there's a red-legged frog, which is a sensitive species that we do find in the Johnson Creek wetland system, and the willow flycatcher there on the right that likes to sit on willows out along the Springwater Trail. Next slide. So I'm going to hand it over to Tressie.
I think I'll take it, maybe. I'll do Westlands first. Right. I'm gonna try to I don't know if you guys see what I see, this bar up top, but I'll leave it alone. So just a little bit about the Westlands Floodplain Restoration Project. You can see in green there that there's approximately 20 acres owned by the Bureau of Environmental Services, which is the city of Portland. And in general, it's bounded between Southeast 82nd Ave and Southeast 92nd Ave along Johnson Creek proper, just south of the Springwater Corridor Trail. And the blue line that you see there is pretty much the existing channel alignment. So we have this signature meander bend here, and then we have a very straight, almost canal-like channel geometry that is the result of some WPA work from the 1930s, and that's the Work Progress Administration. So this is a very flat area on the landscape, both in the channel and the surrounding land surface. So it's naturally prone to flooding, which is why they dug that bypass channel to convey and to move floodwaters more efficiently. We've learned over the decades that when you move floodwaters efficiently, you increase stream power, you degrade existing channel conditions, you flush out stones and sticks and leaves, you flush out little creatures that live in those stones and sticks and leaves, and we lose really critical habitat in what's already a limited riparian and river system. So this is a look, just a snapshot of existing conditions in the main channel. When you look at rivers a lot, you can see that this is sort of, we call it the bowling alley, where the river itself is confined, even when it wants to flood and would naturally flood out of bank into a natural floodplain. These days, it's in a 50-foot wide, 10-foot deep channel. And so the stream power is elevated. All the small stones are washed through and you're left with boulders or large cobbles. So that's what we see here. This is a quick look at that bypass channel. Interestingly, it does carry water every year in the spring, winter, and fall, once the rains come back. And these little tufts of grass are actually wetlands trying to establish themselves over WPA stone. So the bed and the banks are armored. I'm going to fly through this so that Tressie has enough time and we can spend time on questions. This is a reference project reach upstream. It's called the Schweitzer Natural Area. It's at the east city limits. And the reason it's a reference reach is because it's of similar size, that 20-acre size. It was a lowered floodplain project with a meandered, sinuous, winding creek constructed through the middle of it. And we've learned quite a bit. It was constructed in 2007. Here we are at 2022, so that must have been 15 years ago. And on the left, these are images of site conditions at that reference project, the Schweitzer project. And one thing we see really clearly is where vegetation is responding vigorously and where it is not. So we're paying attention to the relative elevation of the floodplain and how deep it needs to be. We notice that when the floodplain is deep, it's highly connected and you get lots of lush riparian and wetland species. That's what we're going for. It's one of the several objectives. On the right, it's just a quick snapshot of the type of hydraulic modeling we do so that we understand the flood conditions that we are putting in place when we excavate a floodplain within the within the public property. And that's more or less what we're after right there. You can see this like big depression through which the channel will flow freely. Real quick, we're very aware of the fact that wood and sediment are going to move through the system. This image on the upper right is the Southeast 82nd Ave Bridge. Today, under current conditions, debris will rack up against that bridge, so we're paying plenty of attention to that. We expect to see beaver on the bottom right. That's a beaver chew. Pretty sure they're going to move in and adjust conditions after we construct the project. And then upper left, that's one of many, many fish that were salvaged from a Johnson Creek project that is currently under construction this summer and fall at Cedar Crossing. So we know that fish are using the system, and we anticipate a really substantial ecological uplift. So the before and after story of the Westlands floodplain is going to be a big one. On the right is more or less the conditions that we're trying to promote. So we're going to have a natural threaded, multi-threaded wetland stream complex that's moving freely through the site with substantial tree cover and wetland and herbaceous plant communities around the perimeter. And I think I'm passing it to Tressie.
Thanks, Rosalind.
Cool. Should I share my screen or do you just want to keep on rolling with it?
I can do it.
Okay. Cool. Well, here I am to describe the Springwater Floodplain Restoration Project. This one's located a little bit further to the east, between 111th and 122nd, north of Southeast Foster. Springwater Corridor Trail goes through the project site, and Southeast Harold Street is at the north edge of the site. And as I move through this presentation, I'm going to refer to these wetlands. They're kind of like they're large. They're about 60 acres of wetlands. We're hoping to enhance around 30 of them. And I'll refer to them as the North, Central, and Zenger areas. So some of the things that we're addressing are the existing conditions. So in the northern wetland area that I mentioned earlier, there's quite a bit of non-native fill that BES is focused on removing so we can return the site to its natural conditions. There's also no direct access from Springwater Corridor to Southeast 115th, which limits access to natural areas and also limits access for transportation for pedestrians. And there are a lot of invasive grasses at Zenger wetland, which is a functional wetland, but we can talk more about that if you'd like to later. So one of the key goals of this project is to reduce flood extents to private properties. And what we're really looking at here are events that are really, really big, ones that happen like 25 years or even maybe more frequently than 25 years. And here's some examples of those types of flood events that have happened over time in this neighborhood. Next slide. So what this figure shows, I know it's not that intuitive, but what it's showing is that the orange and the map is what it looks like when one of those really big storm events that I just showed in the last slide looks like in a plan view. So that's where all the floods are going to, out to the northeast of this project area. And after the restoration project's put in place, all of that flood water is going to be held on city property. So this project is working on containing really, really big storms on city property to stop flooding on private properties. That's one of the key drivers. Also, we're working on habitat and all the other wonderful things that Jennifer mentioned earlier. Another element of this project is we've heard in the past from this group and others that there's such limited access into the natural area. So we're working on some conceptual ideas of putting some trails in place to connect the Springwater Corridor Trail to Southeast 115th and Southeast 117th. And I welcome questions. I welcome them now, or we can do it at the end. I'm sure there may be some. But we can move on. It doesn't sound like anybody has one yet.
Schultz has a
No,
question.
no, do Michael with them first. They're much more.
Sorry, can I hear you?
Not looking for you.
This area is gonna now exclude dogs and put trails in there like we did at the East Fence floodplain natural area. When the Foster floodplain natural area now excludes dogs without any public input.
They're asking if this will exclude dogs, like the Foster floodplain area, natural area. That excluded dogs. Did I get that? Sorry, it's without public input.
Trustee, I can take that unless we have not even discussed that, so we don't have any plan either way for that. So thank you for bringing it up as an issue, but yeah, we'll add that to our list.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
So I'll make this short, but I had a couple of questions. I didn't hear any conversation about the Johnson Creek Watershed Council. They've been instrumental in doing a lot of the work and cleaning the creeks out and such. And I'd appreciate if PBS recognized that group, because there's 300 volunteers sometimes who show up to some of their events, and you guys aren't even mentioning it, and it directly impacts some of the pictures you've taken of that area. Number two, I don't hear you guys talking about the tremendous negative impact of all the homeless camps that litter different sections of those two areas that you're specifically talking about. And I also didn't hear you talk about freeway lands of the proposed developments there and what they may do to the down river parts of Johnson Creek. And then finally, sorry, there's one last one. Yeah, just south of the Westlands floodplain. Oh yeah, removing of the barrier or the liner. Are you guys going to remove the liner that's in there? And coincidentally, I spoke to the gal that owned the island piece of property. She said her husband dug part of that trench to divert the river, so they had a moat. I don't know how true that was, but it's kind of funny. So anyway, I layered you up with a couple of questions. If you could knock them down, I'd appreciate it.
Great, thank you. I think I mentioned that the Watershed Council had been working for a long time, for 25 years, on all of this planning and lots of work. And I would love to talk about the Watershed Council more. And so I'm sorry if I blew by that, or if I didn't really stress how important the partnerships have been in all of this work. If we went, they're actually, that map that had the fish on it, they have additional fish on projects that they take on. They have a big project at Leech Garden that we're a partner with currently, and they've done other, they focus on culvert removal, they focus on inline pond removal or reduction of the impacts, because those things warm up the creek. Plus they do amazing stewardship work. They get the community out to do community science, plus the cleanups. It's amazing. So if you would like to invite them to your meeting, or invite us again with more than 15 minutes, we'd love to do much more justice to the community work. It's just, it's an amazing group. And they have been partners of ours, I'm pretty sure, for like 25 years, since their inception in about like 1996 or so. So just an amazing group. We're very well aware of the houselessness crisis, like all of you. And I think that's probably a presentation with a different group of people also, but we are aware that people are living on these lands. It would be great to discuss that more. I don't know if you have had a presentation from the impact reduction program or any of the programs that work on those issues, but I would highly suggest it for your group here. I'm sorry, I don't know enough about the Freeway Lands project or the plans there to make comment. So we can either get back to you about that, or just let that one be for now. Did I get that? Oh, the liner. Oh, thank you. Yeah. We'll go back to the one Springwater Wetland doesn't have the liner, but for people who don't, maybe we weren't clear. In Rosalind's presentation, there is areas of the project site that have been channelized and then armored. The banks have been armored with basalt that was quarried from nearby in the 30s. And very early on, let's just say 20 years ago, we did an analysis of those areas, and we have been removing that liner over the years. And Roz, maybe if people look at this, that was actually that last one was good, because if you look on the right side of this picture, you can see some of the WPA wall or channel rock liner that we mentioned there. And I'll turn it over to Roz. I'm not sure if we're taking that out or if it's gonna stay.
Yeah, so, the WPA, the Works Progress Administration, which is kind of like the CCC at that time in our nation's history, did phenomenal rock work throughout the city. The stuff that I'm familiar with is along Johnson Creek. It's really mind-blowing what they accomplished at that time in the 1930s. Subsequently, in the 1950s, the Army Corps came in and shored it up in some places, enhanced it in others. And the problem with rock armoring on the bed and banks of the channel is that rivers they're sort of alive. Like they need to shrink and swell. They need to get out of bank. They need to move laterally, which is side to side. And they need to, it's kind of like a conveyor belt of sediment, which is stones, silt, sand. And it is important for a creek to move that material over time. That is how a creek naturally behaves. And when it's armored, it's lined in rock. It's not, there is no source of sediment because all of that stone and sand and silt is behind the rock. And the natural armoring, which comes from sediment sorting in a creek, is highly disrupted. And so that's where I was going with that bowling alley analogy, where the creek, it doesn't look like what you see in the mountains or at the ocean or these other landscapes where we're used to seeing natural creeks. So a huge part of that is because we have rock channel lining. And so where we can, we are removing that so that the creek can return to being a natural water body. But we're taking the stone itself and the work very seriously. There's in fact a state historic preservation office that has some pretty clear guidance on mitigation and recognition of this kind of work when it's impacted. So we're working with them, and we're going to meet some pretty high expectations about how the rock will be repurposed, how the work will be recognized, and how we can hopefully use some of these rock stone materials on site for built gathering areas and that sort of thing. So I think I'll return to the slide that Tracy was on, and you guys can get the rest of the story of the Springwater Wetlands.
We have a few more questions.
Okay. If you can project loud, otherwise I have to do it.
Jennifer, this is Michael Cummings.
Oh, hi, Michael.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
One of the questions I have is certainly the flood issue is a big issue. Okay. But another significant issue is the fire issue. We're now in fire season. The question in this Springwater Wetlands is how much of that area is going to have open water in the late summer. Because what we see is particularly with the homeless camps, people coming in and fires being set. And what is the safety issue? Neighborhoods surrounding that. What is the dry season characteristic of that landscape? And particularly how susceptible is it for fire?
Thank you, Michael. Nice to almost see you here in this room. Trustee, do you want to talk about how much water? And I'd like to say a little bit about fire after that. So thank you for bringing that up. It's a concern that we hear and we all have in our own neighborhoods as well. So thanks for bringing that up, Michael.
Yeah, so regarding what the project's doing to help suppress fires and kind of open up open water, we're basically, what we're doing at Zanger is that we're leaving it, we're improving the habitat there and improving diversity. So we're not really changing, we're really not allowed to change habitat types very much with the permits. But in the central wetland area, we are expanding the open water area as much as we can. And we're also like building out more emergent habitat. So it will be more wet in a larger area in that central zone that we're looking at right here on the slide during the dry seasons after this project. And then it will also be wetter at the kind of southeastern tip of the north wetland there. We'll do as much as we can to expand that area, because if the more open water, kind of the better for some of the creatures that we want to support out there, amphibians and other critters. Waterfowl do better with more open water. So we're doing the best we can to maximize it within the permit constraints.
The other
The Brookside area is a big open area. It's all dried up. Are they going to dredge that for any type of flood storage there? This is land they already own and have dealt with before.
Can Kathy, can you repeat the question? Thanks.
The question was looking at Brookside, what's going to happen in that site? Are they dredging it? It's dried up right now. Are we kind of learning from that?
It's a big space. It's all dried up. There's no water.
There's no water there.
Yeah, so that's a different project and a slightly different project team, and we will be bringing the plan to the community. I think it's slightly out of this neighborhood, but we'd be happy to present about it to this neighborhood in the future if that's of interest.
I saw a hand up here first. Did someone else put a hand up? Did you? No? Okay. Yeah, and if you could speak louder, I can see it.
Okay, I have a comment about public usage of the land. When that's done, I'd like to see restrooms put in at the entry and exit points of the public access, as well as a place for dog poop disposal and dog poop bags available at those spots. Right now, I don't like to walk the Springwater corridor. I used to walk in some of those paths in there in that green area until I stepped into human feces. It's pretty bad due to houseless situation in there and it being used as a restroom. And I'd like to see all the points where public access has due to the wetlands, that there be outhouses there and also doggy disposal areas and doggy pickup bags. Because there's no use in doing wetland if it's going to be essentially a septic tank for human waste. And that makes groundwater contamination also, because the human waste hasn't been treated. So if the city's going to do that, I'd like the city to see that take the responsibility of putting in the proper sanitation facilities for public use, if it's going to be open to the public.
Yeah, I have a follow-up comment. Are you all planning on having trails throughout the public area, throughout the wetlands, or are there going to be trails and places for people to walk, or do you have an idea about that?
That's the purpose of the trail. That's one of the purpose of this trail, is to provide an area for people to walk and to ride their bike and to take a look at it. We'll have little bump outs to take a look at the wetland and provide information about the history and WPA rock. And Jennifer, if you'd like to discuss that too.
Sure. So on, the project that we have up here, Springwater, we are showing some trail concepts that we think will be, need to be on the high and dry side so that they can be open year round. On the West Lents project, we're not proposing any trails currently. That whole area is going to be for the floodwaters. So the area already has the spring water going through it, and it didn't lend itself to trails very well. So this area, this central wetland has this piece, and then the north wetland has another piece of trail that would take you to Ramona. And then you go down Ramona, kind of in that lower part, and then you would end up onto that next slide again. Actually go backwards. These are kind of, go one more. Yeah. So there's Ramona there at the upper left, and then you would be back in the neighborhood, and then you'd be back on a trail that would go down to the wetland. So we're really just proposing for the spring water to do a trail that gets people through the drier, more upland part and over to the Springwater wetland, and no trail for Westlands.
Do you have a plan to address camping and other situations that might occur?
Well, we are all, impacted by that, and this site certainly is, and we work with our partners throughout the city and county on the issues. So, that's ongoing work for us.
Yeah.
Sure. Could you speak to this slide specifically? The racetrack there is compacted gravel and it's all really hard earth. And the jurisdictions have been crazy to sift through for some time, and yet you're proposing a trail there. And I thought that circled area was like former railroad or something goofy. I forget what it is now. And then additionally, the tie into Baker's Tick. I know it's not pictured here, but it's also impacted by all this effort. So just curious if you could speak to those two things.
Thanks. I'll give it to you, Trustee.
Yeah, so the racetrack area, that area in particular is an area that we're focusing on that was non-native fill placed in the mid county sewer project a while back. I can't remember which year now. But so we're like, a part of this project is to remove that fill and to return it back to a more natural wetland area. We have encountered some contamination in this area also that we need to remove from the site, or to protect, to cap and protect the areas. So that's what's happening there. Did that answer your question?
For the most part, I mean, I know that guy, Mr. Black, that owns that house that you're essing right around there. So I've been over there several times, and it is an absolute mess. I talked to Reardon about this very thing. He said there was a project that may be down the road of connecting Baker's Tick, this property, the spring water, and I've yet to see that materialize. So it's the first time I've seen somebody actually touch on that property in a meaningful way. So yeah, I appreciate your recognition. When you say capping though, what is that, like a concrete slab?
No. Just it would just be clean fill to protect the wetland and the material that will help the wetland grow. But we'll do the best we can to remove as much of the fill as possible. Like, really, the goal is to remove as much fill as possible on this project. And
so
then
last thing they removed fill, they dumped it over there on the west of Baker's Tick, and it sat there for years, and it became a laborious long-term process that had the community very agitated. And that was from the Johnson Creek floodplain where Mr. Cummins lived. So is that the kind of idea that y'all are proposing? You're going to set it somewhere on another piece of property and let it settle, or you actually have a plan to remove it somewhere?
we have a plan to remove it to a designated facility if it's contaminated, but we'll certainly use we will remove the fill and use it appropriately. And my understanding is that the fill that we must remove is this fill from the mid county sewer project. And regarding the connection to the south to Beggar's Tick, there is a connection underneath 111th that goes to Beggar's Tick from this area. And that conveys flows during high flow conditions.
My understanding is that you will also create habitat for this group. It's going to create a lot of habitat. So
Yes, that's what's a key priority. Like we want to improve habitat, improve access, and reduce flooding with this project.
So with that habitat and creation, are you, with that fill, going to utilize it somehow in the creation of that habitat? It's not contaminated.
Yes, so we will be removing the contaminated fill in a designated facility. And so that it's treated properly. And then any clean fill that we can use on site, we'll strategically grade it and use it to create a mosaic of wetland structures and to enhance the floodplain so that it supports a variety of wildlife and plants.
Sounds nice. Thank you.
I got one last comment. So if you go out to 1,000 acres, you go out to like Tiger Beaverton, they're successful in providing above ground kind of plank trails for mountain biking and people on trikes, little kids, a whole bit. And yet Portland doesn't seem to really adopt that in a lot of the planning. And this would be an excellent candidate for a very lower than the kind of development some of that you're proposing, to just have above ground trails through these wetland areas that are still allowing for the wildlife and yet allow people to interact with them. Is that anything on y'all's radar, or is it more often like, let's make another road or compacted trail or what have you?
I'll speak to that briefly and then I'll give it to Jennifer. The North Wetland Trail that we were looking at last is more of like a mountain biking trail. Like the real focus of that trail is for maintenance, and so that's going to be like a gravel trail. And the one that goes from Springwater corridor to the southeast 115th and 117th will be a pervious pavement trail that will be used. It'll be sort of like Springwater corridor, so for pedestrians and bicyclists. And the rest, we really want to try and enhance the area. And filling in wetlands is not. So we're trying to reduce the amount of fill we put in wetlands while still providing reasonable access. And Jennifer, please.
No, that's good. We do work with the Portland Department of Transportation, PBOT, or the Bureau of Transportation, and Parks on anytime we're hearing from the community or anytime we're proposing a trail to see how it fits with other trail plans. PBOT has been involved with the siting of the trail that is, going to be skirting the edge of the Springwater. So yeah, I do understand that there are some nice wetland trails out in the Tualatin Basin. Trying to think if we have anything similar, but yeah, I don't have that.
Well, thank you so much for giving this presentation. I do want to move us along in the interest of time. But any additional comments or questions for this group? And thank you so much for coming and spending your evening with us. I know that this is outside of your regular work schedule, so just want to let you know that I really appreciate it. On behalf of the board, we appreciate you coming.
Thanks for having us and thanks for your engagement and questions. Really appreciate it. Really exciting that both of these projects are getting some lift off, as Rosalind said. On these flyers, you can take them with you. There's contact information. We'd love to hear from you and stay engaged throughout the whole planning process. So there's a webpage for each of them, and there's even project updates that Kay sends out. So when there's different milestones, we'd love to keep you in the loop. So thanks for having us, and thank you, presenters.
Thank you all for your time. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll say, Joanna, good morning. How this hooked up.
Okay.
So I'm with you all till the end, but I'm just over here.
Needed to move this over here. But I'm gonna move it back down. I'll do my best to keep us, I know we have a little bit of time left, it's actually 8:05, so we are, I'm just gonna circle back on this Facebook issue, and then I'm going to table the rest of the agenda items for another time, because I do think we are supposed to be adjourned at 8:30, so it's 8:10 right now, so circling back on the Facebook issue, would like to see if that motion, well, actually, before we make the motion, I want to circle back on your comment about the Facebook group.
Yeah, I just find that a Facebook group would be more conducive to community discussions. Like a Facebook page, there is a tab under there for people to post make their own posts there, but I don't think a lot of people know that's a thing, and also it's challenging for some people to find. Whereas a Facebook group, you just post, it's easy.
So that's what you would, are you making a motion, or you're just?
This is more a comment. We could make a Facebook group, and if we did do that, I could make us all moderators of it. It'd be quite simple, really. The one challenge I would foresee of doing that is the Facebook page already has a lot of followers. Transitioning those followers over to a Facebook group, a public one, of course, but even so, I'm not sure how many folks would actually make that transition.
Well, if they're on Facebook.
Sure. No.
Could I just propose that maybe you do a test group, you set it up and you test that out, tell people, hey, we're trying this out, and then for a moment, you could be dual posting on the Facebook page and the Facebook group, and then you would get a sense of if there's a migration or it's utilized, if it's a battleground or what have you. I don't know, just in aid of moving it forward. Because I think one of the things is in a group, don't you have to approve members?
Not necessarily. You can change your approval. You can have it set to just auto join, or you can have like a question like, are you a resident of Lentz? If yes, approve it. That's something we can do. But frankly, just letting anyone join is probably fine.
And when they set the Facebook page up, it was done with a fake Facebook account, the Oliver P. Lent base accounts and Facebook fake account. And then that was in control of the board, and then it disappeared or whatever. So I think then the ownership got transferred. So there's like an issue of the potential to be able to hand that down to the next week. But you know, people get kerfuffled and stomp away, then you're locked out and all that other stuff ensues, right? So I don't know how you address that.
Okay, so Facebook groups, admins have the power to. They basically have total control over it. So you would have to, if an outgoing board, and if there's an admin from the outgoing board who was like upset, basically they could mess it up. But I think we just gotta trust the prior board to do a peaceful transition of power.
Okay. I'm gonna turn this down because I feel like I'm actually. So one I
Should I formulate a motion on that?
Yeah, if you want to do it.
We have a motion already on the floor.
I thought we had retracted it, but if we're.
No.
Table it. And that's what I mean. It's like, I'm sorry, we're going to track table. You can, now, I would like you to repeat it so everyone can hear it, which is my.
Sure.
Yeah.
I motion that all LNA board members be granted editor status on the LNA Facebook page to enable them to automatically post. And that was seconded by Robert Schultz.
Okay, so now that has been seconded. We need to call the question.
I'm in favor. I say, 6, and then we want to ask the online votes.
Online, can you guys hear what the motion was? Sure, couldn't hear anything.
Do you want me to read it again?
Yes, sure do. I wonder if I move this over by you.
Okay, here we go again.
Can you guys hear? Ken?
Hello? Check, 1, 2, 3. We're good?
Okay, now they can hear you.
Okay. I motion that all LNA board members be granted editor status on the LNA Facebook page to enable them to automatically post. And it was seconded by Robert Schultz. And there were 6 votes in person here for yes. And how many online?
Char votes yes. And David votes yes.
So
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people, there's only a few people online right now.
So how many vote no then?
Any no votes?
So that would look like, how would, I just have a question, follow-up question, and I'm not voting no. Already.
So you're abstaining?
No, I
should vote against
yeah.
it, but you-
My follow-up question though is how, for both the email and the Facebook, I'd like comment/question. I'd like to have some sort of order or protocol. So we're not all doing everything at once. Yes.
The question of the editorial status came up because again, at that emergency meeting, Jasmine and Jessica both said that they were too busy to post about recruiting of bylaws revision committee people. And we would have to all wait till the 21st. There were at least probably 3 other board members who would have been able to post that by the 18th as previously requested, but we were all told that only Jasmine could do it and had to wait till the 21st. And frankly, I'll call out, I don't think that it's on the LNA Facebook that we are recruiting the bylaws.
I asked Jasmine and she said it was on there.
I checked, I didn't see it.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll confirm with Jasmine. I'll call her.
But I mean, that's sort of a big issue because
Yeah.
everybody was in a hurry to have this done. It was like, we needed a timeline because otherwise this is gonna take forever. Otherwise, we, the board, are going to have to do this on our own and everybody's just gonna have to follow our dictation. And then people said, no, give it 2 weeks. And here we are, it's a week and a half after the emergency meeting and nothing has been posted. And the rest of us can't.
So we voted that all board members will be able to post and have admin to the Facebook page. And we've all voted yes, that all board members will have access to view the emails.
And my follow-up was, I just want some sort of protocols. And we can talk about this at another time. But for like people that are maybe not being polite or rude to each other or something, I'd like some sort of way to mitigate that. In addition, I'd also like people that are posting to be able to not, I'd like to have not political stuff and like kind of some rules around that as well. Mostly just neighborhood stuff on the neighborhood page. So that's all. Yeah.
I was gonna ask how many people abstained on the vote of that last motion. That all LNA board members be granted editor status on the LNA Facebook page to enable them to automatically post. How many people abstained for 2?
2.
3. 3. Let's get in there. Sorry.
No, I was a person that's here. Just came for.
So 3 abstaining?
2 actually.
2, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh man, I think I've lost it. Oh man, think before you raise your hand, huh? Have a whole heart. Oh my goodness. It's the Facebook page thing.
we
the
can.
free speech issue, that's the deal, right? So you start moderating heavily, you start to bump into free speech.
Yeah, well, I don't want to moderate free speech.
Well,
I want it to be relevant to the neighborhood issue. I don't want it to go necessarily off in an unproductive, toxic direction where people are arguing about politics or something that is not relevant. That's all.
And then the other part was, you can pin the post, if there is somewhere it got lost or somehow a post recruiting from the board, you can pin that to the top of the page.
Yes. So that's all. And so I'm fine with everyone having access. It's not my decision at all. And I even voted for it. And so I'm not saying no. I'm just saying I would like some, as a board member, some sort of protocols around. Yeah.
What we could do is during a board meeting, come up with a terms of agreement.
They can sign up to the page, and then if you break those rules, you get removed from it. That's on almost every Facebook group or page has those rules, and
yes,
there's lots of people that have been removed because they broke those rules.
Thank you. Looks like Shar has a comment.
Shar?
Yes, I did have a question. Back in the dark ages, when they had access, when all the board members had access to the Facebook page, they were posting as the Lents Neighborhood Association, but they were signing the post. So you knew which board member posted that post. That's how they addressed it back then, was just have the people, like if Ken wants to post something, it would show it was coming from the Lents Neighborhood Association, but then he'd just sign it as Ken.
Nice.
So whenever I post anything, it says who I am.
That's fine. Unless you're posting like ads or something from someone else, you can't really like a cleanup ad or whatever. It's hard to sign your name to that. But
You can always,
say
you always
from
add a
him
link.
in the comments. Yeah,
You can always add a link to it. If
Yeah.
you post an announcement, you can always add a link.
So in our next meeting, we can talk about the rules to sign on as a member.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Like like
Okay.
I really think that's a great thing. So I'm gonna make a motion to talk about that or add that to the agenda at our next meeting.
Yeah.
So I second that.
Great. Call the question.
Can you repeat the motion?
The motion is to discuss rules of engagement and for Facebook. And I'd like to also discuss Facebook and email communications for all board members to have access to. So I'm gonna restate that. I motion that we discuss rules of engagement for Facebook and email at our next meeting.
Friendly amendment. Instead of calling it rules of engagement, can we call it a code of conduct?
Code of conduct, yes, sounds fine.
Clarity question?
Yes.
You're suggesting this is what you're adding to the board's agenda.
At our next meeting, yes.
Yeah, so this is a line item to add to the next board meeting.
Yeah, so. No time to talk about it right now.
So, but between here and there, the board members will have these accesses.
I mean, yeah, that's what we voted on, so
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
that's what has to happen.
Point.
I do need to circle back with the people with the access and try to even get that, but we can do that via email.
Okay.
So point of clarity on that. So I understand that now this body has made a decision, the notice will be given to the person that is currently the admin, that is to say, please add all board members as editors.
Yeah.
Because it's not a question that they can say no to, it's not directed.
Right.
Okay.
And then in the future, we can slough out people. Agree. To talk about this in the next meeting, we can talk about code of conduct.
Okay. So what's the next thing on the agenda?
We have a motion on the floor,
Oh, with friendly amendments.
friendly amendment, and you seconded as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, seconded and amended, so, and then you were requesting the questions, I guess, all in favor,
Yeah.
say aye or vote yes.
Thank you, Robbie.
Depends when you're watching.
When you're not driving, it's easy. Turn up here and turn over there.
That's true. Yeah, I made the motion. So, addition. Laura?
And that was a yes, not good.
Five yeses.
Thank you.
Any noes? Abstentions? One abstention? Okay. Next.
Code of conduct will be added. Okay, so I'm looking at the time, it's 8:24. So
you want to wind it up? We need to deal with this.
yes.
Oh, yeah. I think that was $45 is what we counted.
I don't remember it then.
We all counted this. And this is from our event. Yeah.
Okay.
That we had for the,
Up off of that.
yeah, for the propagate event for the.
And we eliminated the amount was,
I believe that we.
It's 41 or 45. So you're confident about this. Can someone sit here and I'll count it out? But we can, we can continue this.
Yeah, we can do this after the meeting, but, we are gonna wrap this meeting up. And I'm hoping we can revisit some of these items on the agenda at our next meeting, but I do appreciate the community coming and talking and about the things that they wanted to add to the agenda and things that they thought were important, because it's really important that we all, say what we think and as members, and also feel comfortable making those suggestions to this board, because we are here to help the community and unite the community. So I really appreciate all of you coming and participating. This is the most participation that we've had since I have been the vice chair. So, thank you, yes.
It's just a point of clarity for your minutes. You did not approve the previous meeting minutes.
We did not approve the previous meeting minutes, and we do not have time.
Yeah, no,
Anymore.
There.
Yeah, I tried in the beginning
Yeah, sorry.
to do that. So the meeting minutes have not been approved, and we will have to table that for the next meeting. And hopefully we can approve all of the meeting minutes. We have a few meeting minutes. We'll try it next time. Otherwise, I really appreciate all of you coming. It is 8:26, and I just want to open it up to all of you for any final comments before we adjourn the meeting.
This has been super.
Thanks. Any other comments? Okay. All right, this meeting is adjourned. I appreciate all of you coming, and I'm going to end the recording, and thank you all to all of you online for attending. Thank you.
See you all next time. Same bat time, same bat channel.